Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters Net podcast. I'm your host Brian, and joining me today are four very special guests hailing from up north. It's the boys from Born of Plagues. How y'all doing today?
Pretty good.
All
How's it going?
right.
Doing
All
all
right.
right.
Okay, I'll list your names and what instruments you play in the band. I guess we'll start with you, Matt, and then we'll work our way around. Okay.
Matt, I play drums.
Okay. Mike?
Mike, guitar.
Tim
I'm Tim. I play bass, lead bass.
and Austin.
Lead bass. I'm Austin. I make throat noises and also play guitar.
That's good to hear. How you boys doing today? What's new?
Just put
Sunday
our
night.
t-shirt order.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we got new T-shirts coming.
Oh, really? You got new merch? Yeah. So who
Yep.
puts the merch together?
I did this time around. This is actually the first time I've done it for a band I've been in, so I guess it's about time.
Tim's good, man. He's a good treasurer, good merch guy. He gets
That's
it
'cause you
done.
guys don't check the records.
We all got lazy, and Tim got motivated somehow.
Yeah.
It's the heart of winter too, so it obviously drags us down. So we're probably not in the mood to do a whole lot of things this time of the year. So
Yeah.
all right. So I'll welcome you all to my podcast right here. And the way this is going to work is just going to ask you guys some questions, get to know you more both as the individuals, but also as the individuals as well. So I'm all right here. You ready? All ready to roll?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. So Matt, we'll start with you. So I guess tell us a little bit about yourself. I guess how'd you become a musician?
I started playing drums when I was 8, and my first band was in. Well, I mean, I did like elementary school band and junior high school band, but my first real band, I was in 8th grade playing for a punk band called Necron 99 out of Washington, D.C. And it's just spiraled out of control from there. I've been in way too many bands to count and been places I never would have been if it weren't for music, and that's it.
We pulled him into the dark side of the force, as we like to say. Okay. And Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, Mike. I started playing guitar probably about 12 years old or so, and took lessons my first year, and just kind of got the basics down and all that. And I've been playing all kinds of stuff ever since. Also, like Matt, we've been in a couple different bands together. A couple of us have been in other bands together, so we're all pretty much friends. And yeah, so I mean, I've been doing a lot of different styles with guitar and whatnot, but this band's definitely where I want to be right now with the kind of style that I'm playing. It's a challenge for me. My roots were in like thrash, speed metal, and to slow it down a bit can be challenging, you know, especially when writing stuff like that. So it's fun though.
Especially doing long songs that are kind of like the Metallica length from like 8 to 9 minutes
Yeah.
long too. So
Yeah,
They keep
you
pushing
gotta
it
slow it
longer.
down and let it kind of breathe for a while, right? With these songs.
absolutely. All right. And Tim, go ahead.
So I don't know when I first started playing, probably, early high school, 8th grade, but my brother got acoustic guitar from a yard sale, and then got an electric guitar, and he got this acoustic guitar, and so he was going to let me use it. So the first thing I did, I'm left-handed, so I restrung the strings. He's like, dude, don't do that, just learn how to play right-handed. So ended up playing guitar, just learning songs, printing out like guitar tab at the library, and then probably had just some punk bands kind of throughout the years that were not really much of anything. And then we were in a friend and I were in a band and shared a drummer with a band Matt was in. Then they kicked that drummer out, and there was he played bass for that band, so there was some shuffling around. And so I said, well, I can play guitar for you all. And then so I went and did a rehearsal, and they said, how are you on bass? And so I said, well, apparently better than guitar. So I switched then, and I've been playing bass ever since. And 3 bands with Matt, And then just, yeah, lots of different bands throughout Baltimore over the past 20 some years.
All right, and Austin, close it out.
Yeah, I like Matt. I started playing when I was 8 years old. My first guitar was an 8th birthday present. I took lessons, weekly lessons, every week until I turned 18. So by the end of that, I was halfway decent, and I think I've gotten progressively worse since I stopped taking lessons. But somehow people keep letting me play in their bands. I actually joined Born of Plagues originally just as a singer. But the second guitar player that they had when I joined got busy with other stuff and kind of phased out. So they let me do my thing a little bit. Yeah, he is.
He's in a real band now.
Yeah. He's in a band that has actual fans. But yeah, I played in a doom band in New York City in the early 2000s, and then I moved to Kentucky and I did a couple things out there for a few years, and then I found these guys when I moved to Maryland about, like 4 or 5 years ago?
God, has it been that long?
I think so.
It's like, Jesus, I'm old. So, that's what you mean too. Hey, are you,
Mike,
all you
Mike's
guys,
older.
do you hail from? Oh, sorry, what did you say, Matt?
I said Mike's older than I am, so.
Oh, really?
Only by a half a year.
No, he's clean shaven now and makes him look 10 years younger right now too. So Matt, you're getting away with it now.
I got too much. I got gray.
Yeah, look how gray that stubble is.
Look at that.
Old man.
It's up there.
Yeah, he's up there in years right now.
You guys are it's gonna turn on you guys too soon.
There's already gray in here when there's gray and you at least still have a head of hair, so.
Yeah. It's weird.
I'm just picturing, do you guys still get carded after you shave? You shave all the hair off too. That's what happens with me. I get carded still for some reason when I go into bars. So it's tragic. I get away with it too. I wish I had kept the beard out too. It'd go as long as Austin right now, to be honest. All right. So all you guys, do you hail from the state of New York? Is that where you're all at?
No, we're in Maryland.
Oh, you're Maryland.
Yeah, Austin's the outlier.
Not really.
He's the one who's left the state.
Yeah,
I grew up in Jersey, but these guys are all Maryland natives, and we say that we're out of Baltimore. None of us lives in Baltimore now, but that's where we practice, so that's what we, as a band, call home.
I guess Matt's from Virginia, right?
Yeah, but Northern Virginia, not like hillbilly Virginia.
I mean, hey, if you would have said born from Ravens, I would have probably believed you were out of Maryland, to be honest. So, represent the Baltimore Ravens, that sort of thing, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I guess who put the band together first? Was it you, Matt, or who put Born of Plagues together? I know it's sort of the origin story.
Matt, let's go back to Bet the Devil. So, Matt and I were in a band called Bet the Devil about 10 to 15 years ago. And it was a thrash band out of Baltimore, and we decided we really wanted to continue doing something after that band split up. So we kind of started just looking for friends that would want to join in, and in the meantime, just trying to write stuff. And we put this band together called Destroyer of Man. And it was basically me, Matt, and Tim, but we had a different singer at the time, and we had a different guitar player. So that when that band kind of split up, because people, their lives change and they have to make changes and whatnot. So we're just doing this for fun. So we were like, well, let's keep doing this Doom thing. And then that's when we found Austin, and we got ourselves a singer, which is usually one of the hardest positions to fill when you're looking for somebody that wants to scream like this. And like he said, we were lucky enough to get him doing the second guitar when our other guitarist went off to do a different kind of band. So we've all been in different bands in the Baltimore. A lot of us have been in bands in the Baltimore area, from the punk stuff to hardcore to thrash metal, all different styles of metal that we've all been doing since we were, well, some of us like me, probably since I was 14, I started playing Baltimore clubs, 14, 15 years old, in a thrash metal band back in the late 80s, early 90s, where I kind of started and, met a lot of these guys along the years from friends or different bands, and we just try to keep playing. The older we get, we're like, we got to have something, some kind of outlet, and for us, this is it.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool story. I guess where did the name Born of Plagues come from? Was it just something that just popped in your head one day, be like, let's roll with that?
Naming bands is like the worst thing in the world to have to do. It's the worst.
Yeah, it's the worst because the internet has grown so much that just about everybody can create their own pages, and if you think up some name, carotid artery or something, that's already taken. No matter what it is, it's always something's taken. So we kind of did some word shuffling and put a bunch of different weird dark words and stuff like that, and just tried to mix and match for a while. And somehow it was right around COVID, when COVID hit, I think. Is that when we named it, or right before that?
No,
it was a little bit before.
It was
before. A year or two before.
Yeah. So it was kind of fitting once we realized that we had decided on that name when COVID hit. We were like, oh, a plague has just hit the earth, so we're born of plagues. It's fitting now. But it was really just kind of a word mashup kind of a thing.
Yeah, it would just be nonstop in our like band chat of just like throwing out just anything, and eventually something stuck that all four of us were like, hey, that one might work, and that's kind of what we stuck with.
Yeah, and it was one of the ones you had to, of course, search the entire internet to see if anybody's taken it already, and it wasn't. So,
well, behold, we are the first ones to beat it to everybody else.
Yeah,
that's all good.
Somehow.
And I guess let's go ahead and jump into COVID a little bit too. So I guess Matt, we'll start with you first. I guess how bad did COVID impact you, your family, and also the music as well?
Honestly, it didn't really impact me too much. I mean, me and my wife, we both had it, but I mean, our job stayed steady because I'm in like a very blue collar manufacturing industry, and my wife is also kind of I don't want to say first responder, but she's a necessary employee, so she was still working. My kids kind of got duped out of having to go to school. They did online classes and stuff like that, and it for the 10 days that I had COVID, it was like the worst 10 days I've been sick in a long time. But other than that, it really didn't impact us, and we did the safety thing, and when we practiced, luckily the practice space stayed open, but we wore masks and we did, protective measures, if you will, to try and be able to continue writing music, and we actually recorded the first record during the pandemic. We recorded it, Austin engineered it in our practice space.
Yeah, so what you listened to when you checked out our stuff was all done in DIY. It was the first time I've ever not gone to a professional studio playing in a band to actually have a recording, because we have some equipment now, and we can Austin's got experience, and I've been actually, since we did that demo, I've been doing a lot of learning on my own, recording my own guitar stuff, my own with MIDI drums and things like that, just to kind of practice the whole recording sort of aspects and mixing and editing and all that. And I think I would love to do our second one DIY, but I think we're talking about possibly doing either part studio for some of it and do the rest of it at home, or just do the whole thing in a studio. I don't know. We're still talking that over now. We've got enough material now, I think, that we can definitely go record soon, within the next couple of months probably.
I was like, man, that was damn good for just DIY. I mean, hats off to you guys. That's why I was clapping and give you guys thumbs up and everything too.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a lot of work. It took us about a year probably, because once we did it in weekends when we had a few hours free, and like they said, we did it in our practice space, at least the core recording pieces of it. And then I did some things, a couple guitar solo tracks at home and some clean parts, and sent them to Austin to mix into the whole thing. So we made it work with all the way through COVID, with having separation of people, and when we were together, we were masked up, like Matt said. So we were trying to be careful, but do it ourselves. And it was fun. It was a great experience. I know it's not perfect, but for the kind of music we have, we really were happy with how it turned out, because we wanted it to have a raw feel, kind of a dark sort of basement recorded kind of a feel almost. But it turned out even better than that. I thought it turned out way better than that.
Yeah, I recorded all the vocals. I recorded all the vocals in my basement, so my kids would be like, "Daddy, why do you go in the basement and scream?" just grown-up stuff.
I guess the one downside of us doing a DIY was that, when it was kind of finished, but we just like sat on it for a while. We, had it kind of mixed and finished and recorded, and it was just like, all right. So, eventually it was just like, one of those days I was in a meeting at work or something. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to just throw this on Bandcamp and let's go. So, that was the one downside is, just it allowed us to take our time, but then we kind of almost forgot to finish.
Yeah, and that's the challenge when you do it yourself. When do you know when it's finished, right? Because you're able to tweak stuff and mix stuff and all that. And like, I think that's got to be one of the hardest things. Like at some point you got to say, okay, it's good enough. Let's go. Cut, print, put it on the internet, or get tapes made or whatever, which we did. So, people actually, kids today, they want tapes, we wanted the records, in our generation. And it was like, now the kids want tapes because it's, the hard thing to find is a tape player in a common household now. You're probably more likely to find a record player than you are a cassette player.
My tape player broke. I haven't heard any of our tapes.
Yeah, me neither.
They might be blank for all I know.
I think we're going back to doing vinyl now.
Yeah.
I got a couple extra tape players laying around if you want one.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I'm old.
You might want to check and make sure your copy actually has audio on it.
It's been a couple years. Who cares at this point?
Just draw the magnet over top of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just blame it on that.
Actually, was it Matt's birthday recently?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was Matt's birthday recently.
I turned 486.
He's the age of Noah now.
I was generous. I said 80 on Instagram or whatever.
We'll say we're talking dog years now.
I think so.
Believe it. But happy birthday, Matt, nonetheless. Good to have you around here, man. Good to see you are doing better. So, Mike, how bad did COVID impact you? Did you have any brushes with it?
Actually, my wife and I started working from home right when it hit. And my company, I work for, like IT, in the IT world, and we have plenty of tools for us to be able to connect and do our jobs remotely. And, I would actually do a lot of work with a team over in India, so I'd have to get up really early to meet with them. And I was already used to working from home for a couple hours in the morning and then going into the office later. So it just made sense once we, I started working from home. My wife works for a hospital. She got to work from home a lot more because she does a lot of phone call stuff, and she could do that here, no problem. So we were pretty good. I didn't get COVID when it was really dangerous, like for people. I stayed in like a hermit, and I wore a mask everywhere, pretty much just going to practice once a week. And because I worked from home, I didn't have to go many places. So I was very careful. I did get it later, within the last year or two, when the variants had come out, and it wasn't as like I was, felt like I had a cold for a couple days and that was it. So I was pretty lucky, but I did test positive, once or twice. So yeah, luckily didn't impact me too much. I knew some people that had some elderly family that had passed away from it in the early stages. So, I know people that it affected more than myself. So
I'm sorry for your loss, and it's good to see you are doing well there, Mike. And Tim, go ahead, and then Austin, you can close it out.
So I do web and software development for NIH, so it was pretty easy to transition to working from home, and kind of the same as Mike. I just kind of, shut the door and stayed home, grew long hair, grew a beard, and yeah, that was
You became
about
a
it.
legit hermit.
Yeah, I was like, all right, well, this is time to get some metal street cred and grow a beard. And yeah, so I didn't do much of that. I got, my wife was stay at home anyway. Got 2 kids that were younger, so by the time schools and everything were opening up, it was kind of just in time for my older one to be in kindergarten. So, they didn't get set back or anything. So we dodged it, but then we all ended up getting it, except for my older kid somehow last year. That was, dodged it all that time, and then we tried to go to Florida for Christmas, and it was just that whole Southwest debacle, staying at the airport kind of thing. So it was either that night scene with my family at Christmas or Christmas Day with my family, and then by New Year's, I was just like knocked out in the basement and just kind of felt like I got hit by a truck. And then but yeah, everybody kind of ended up going through with it except for the older kid. But at that point, it's just like, well, might as well start breathing on you and we'll get this taken care of. But yeah, he never got it, or at least didn't get it bad. So
yeah, I was probably work-wise the most affected by it because I'm a school teacher. So I had to do the whole like virtual teaching thing for a full year, which is just kind of crazy, real different approach. I kind of loved it because, I didn't have to put on real pants. You just like put on shorts and a nice shirt and a tie and hang out in the house all day. Didn't wear shoes for a year. But it's been, it's still affecting us like in schools now. It's been 2.5 years that we've been back in the building, and like the kids still have sort of like maturity deficits and behaviors that you're like, you just still don't know how to act in a classroom. So it's been a whole thing. It's been a really weird experience. My family managed to avoid it for a solid year, but we all caught it about March of 2021, and I think I've had it maybe like 4 times since then. I don't even bother testing anymore because I don't want to miss work. I just go and give it right back to the kids that gave it to me. Don't tell my bosses. But like somebody said a minute ago, at this point, it's like you get a cold for a couple days. Like it's not this serious thing that it was. If I were ever really feeling bad, I wouldn't go to work. But I get this cough, and I'm like, that might be COVID again, but it's minor. Nobody's really worried about it anymore.
What subject do you teach? Are you a history or an English teacher?
English, yeah.
You definitely see it, yeah. You definitely remind me of one of my teachers who has like a long beard as yours, but he at least had like the big facial hair and everything too. So
that's why all of our songs are about Dracula and Frankenstein and.
He puts the lyrics together.
Yeah, when I joined the band, I was like, every song is gonna be based on like a horror story, like a gothic novel, something like that, and I have not been able to keep that up. I keep getting mad about other stuff.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes you come up with an idea and next thing you know, it changes 10 different times before you finally land on something too. So I know what you mean. I'll give a hats off to you, Austin, because I know being a teacher is probably pretty tough these days too. Both in terms of the politics and what COVID has done too. So hats off to you, mate.
I appreciate it. And
also hats off to all you guys too. So I know some of you had a little bit of rough right there. So it's good to see y'all came out better and stronger too. So. So I guess let's go ahead and talk the gear a little bit too. So Matt, you can go first. What gear do you use for your drumming? And if you want to elaborate on anything else, go ahead.
I use Pacific drums by DW. Currently, I'm using Remo heads, and I'm a very big advocate on Sabian cymbals. So give me free stuff or let me have things or give me money to play your stuff.
He wants to be an endorsee that bad, so. Yep. Actually, have you ever played on an electric drum set before, or are you just strictly doing acoustic sets?
No, I've got an electric kit at home that I mess around on every now and then, but, time's few and far between for me to actually be able to sit down outside of band practice. I'm just always doing something, running.
Appeasing the woman and also making sure the taxes are paid and everything else too. So fair enough. All right. And Mike, what gear do you got?
So right now
It's going to take forever.
He's in the mechanics garage right here. You might as well name him the mechanic.
I'll start with my new toy, which is a Jericho guitar. I pre-ordered this guitar like a year ago, and it said, it's pre-order, so it's going to take a couple months, and it said about 3 months. Well, 3 to 5, 6 months go by, and they've contacted me once or twice saying, sorry, we've had some delays getting materials with COVID shortages and blah, blah, blah. We didn't expect this many pre-orders. So basically they allowed too many pre-orders, I think, was the problem. And I did wind up waiting for the guitar. I was going to cancel. And it came down to the last day, and it was like, I got a notice it was shipped. And I was like, all right, I'm keeping the guitar now. And I do love it. I'm glad I kept it. But it's a beautiful sort of Telecaster style. And it's really heavy, and I think it sounds really nice for what we're doing now. So I'm playing that guitar, and I build guitar amps. So right now I'm using a clone of a Model T, an old 1970s Sun Model T, but I made it 60 watts instead of 120, because 60 is plenty for most of the places we play, and it's a lot lighter that way. So I'm able to kind of build what I want to play, and I've used a couple different other amps that I've built in the past, but that's what I'm using right now. And a couple of pedals, so like a reverb pedal for clean parts, and what else? And a fuzz pedal for the main sort of distorted sound. Yep, that's pretty much it.
I'll say his nickname is the mechanic too, because I noticed a couple of the amps back there. What's that Boogie, and what's the other one back there?
Mesa Boogie. That's a Sun Model T, but it's a reissue. There's a Sun Solid State. I like the Sun, some of the Sun stuff, and a Sovtek, which was from Russia. Sovtek, some people call it. But yeah, and some of the other stuff over there is stuff I've built.
That's pretty damn good. And I would say as soon as you saw the email, it was like, thank you, God. It was like that. So, all right, Tim, what sort of gear do you got?
So I guess actually with all my shit talking on Mike, but I've probably got more random junk strewn about. But I play currently, I have a BC Rich-ish Mockingbird style bass that I made. So, I got a slab of walnut and cut it out and routed it out. And I ended up getting an aluminum neck from Hoaxy Guitars in Florida. So it's got an aluminum neck, walnut body, and then no volume or tone knobs or anything. So it's just going straight out. Got a Bluebeard fuzz pedal for fuzz, chorus. That's kind of the main ones. A few other things like a Brogdon Audio high and low pass filter, and then 10 band equalizer to kind of round out the sound, and Sans amp. And then right now I'm playing a Quilter bass head, which is like the size of a lunchbox and some ridiculous amount of wattage, but it's kind of nice going from, I had a Bugera, which is like a $400 Ampeg SVT knockoff, to downgrading to this one. So there was a while where I was just buying like crappy $100 solid state heads just to get something good, because we tuned to B. So I have a Warlock bass that I didn't want to get set up to B, so I was playing a 6-string bass for a while because I had it. And then for this new one, just making sure I got the right gauge strings, but playing that low, it's been harder to kind of find like a fuzz and something loud that can handle those low notes without getting too muddy. So I'm always twiddling with knobs at practice and all that.
All right, and Austin, go ahead and close it out.
Mine's easy. I play mostly Gibson guitars. I got a thing for V's. I have a 1994-ish Flying V that I bought off the internet because I got a hankering for it around like 2004. Saw Pepper Keenan playing one in a corrosion conformity video and said, "Oh, that looks cool. I'm going to get one of those." And then a couple years later, on tour-ish, at some little shop in Virginia. I saw this gorgeous flying V, and I didn't know what it was, but I fell in love. And I went home to Jersey, and I was at work like Googling this thing and trying to figure out what it was. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. Eventually I called the shop back and I was like, hey, do you still have that V? Like I'm going to come buy it. Hold on to it. And I drove back down to Virginia just to buy it. Turns out it's a 1981. They call them the V, and they only made them for 1 year. The original ones, they got a 3-piece neck and a 1-piece mahogany body with a maple top on it. And the original ones came with the old Gibson Dirty Fingers pickups. I've swapped out most of the pickups in mine for different things, but they just roar. They've got this real nice like MIDI tone that's great for like sludgy kind of stoner stuff and doom. So those are my babies, and I run them through a Laney. I actually have 2 Laneys. The first one I bought is the Tony Iommi signature. I was playing a Mesa Boogie triple rec for a long time, and I just it was too many options. There's 3 channels, and you know, Mesa Boogie's big on if you turn the knob just a little bit, it changes the sound completely. And I would go and play guitar and twiddle my knobs for an hour and get a sound I liked, and then go back down the next day and be like, oh, this sounds terrible. So finally I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need something with 1 channel and 4 knobs. So I got the Tony Iommi signature, and it just rips. And then I wanted a clean channel, and a friend of mine from Indiana, Tucker he's in a band now called Throne of Iron. They play like Dungeons and Dragons, traditional metal. They're awesome, but he was selling a Laney 100L, G1, whatever they're called. So I snapped that up, and that's the one I mostly use now because it has a clean channel. But I don't run a lot of pedals. I have a Minotaur Sonic Terrors fuzz and burn that I use on a couple things. Mostly I use it for a boost on solos. And there's one song I use a wah pedal on, but mostly I just run straight through the amp. Love that tube distortion.
Gotta love technology these days, especially with everything they come out with as well. So I was gonna say he had to do Throne of Iron, but he couldn't do Iron Throne anymore. Otherwise, I think that copyright from Game of Thrones would have been all over his ass.
Well, there was a Baltimore band called Iron Price for a while. That's another Game of Thrones thing, right?
Yeah, Iron Price.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
No, I thought it was I thought they were thinking like the Bank of Bravos or something like that. I didn't think that was
Yeah,
Iron Bank. Iron
it
Bank.
was in. Oh yeah, the Iron Bank. Yeah, that's another one. But yeah, it was. What was the one? Yeah, it was. God, I can't remember the name of the thing in Iron. The Iron Islands or something like that. That the guy lived, and he said that you pay the Iron Price. That guy. That was in.
That was Actually, all right. It was the Iron Islands, and it was Pike. I think that was the.
Yeah, that's
the castle.
Pike. Yeah. So yeah, but a friend of ours band was named that. So.
They got away with it.
I guess they didn't get big enough for anybody to sue anybody. So.
No cease and desist letters for them.
Yeah.
That's the real trick. Is you just stay small. If nobody knows who you are, nobody's going to sue you.
Yeah.
I say as long as it covers the gas, we're okay. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, that's all good. So for the next question right here, let's talk about influences a little bit too. So I guess, Matt, who influenced you to take up drums?
There's been several as far as my style has evolved over the years. Definitely Dave Lombardo from Slayer and Neil Peart from Rush. And I'd like to give crazy shout out to my good friend Grant Sheehan from Gut Instinct, a Baltimore hardcore band that I actually just had the ultimate bucket list pleasure of filling in for last weekend. It was simply amazing, and I hope I did him justice. There's a handful more. Definitely not Lars.
We cannot mention Lars. That's forbidden.
There's not a day goes by that Lars is not mentioned in our group chat in one way or another.
Not a
usually
fan.
in a bad way.
Not a
Very
fan.
bad way.
I think Matt's just over there losing his mind as soon as Lars is immediately brought into the conversation. So, all right, those are all good choices. And
that was my real goal in drumming was to be better than Lars, and I'm pretty sure I've done that.
He did that probably when he was like 9. You started when you were 8.
just the pots and pans, everything. He was already a better drummer than Lars, just in mommy's pots and pans. So
yeah.
Either that or he was better the day he crawled out of his mother's belly or something like that. So, okay. But good choices nonetheless. Thank you, Matt. And Mike, who would you consider as your influences?
Well, I would say Eddie Van Halen was the person that got me to play guitar, because I remember watching all his twiddly dealing in 1984 when Jump came out, and I was like 10 years old, and I was the tapping and all that stuff that he did, and I was like, oh my God, I've got to get a guitar. I didn't just like them, but they would have Friday night videos back then, before MTV and cable. And they would always have like the Scorpions and Def Leppard and Rat and all the hair metal bands of that time, Motley Crue. I was just like, I got to get a guitar. And, it was like the next birthday or Christmas present. That was like, that's all I want. That's all I want. And, took off from there once I got it, because I told you I did take lessons, and that really helped me to at least start to get the basics down so that I could teach myself from there, So yeah, Eddie Van Halen and sort of the hair metal bands is what got me into wanting to play guitar. And I've done lots of styles over the years. I would say my biggest influence over a lifetime is probably Alex Skolnick of Testament. He's just been one of my all-time favorite musicians. He's just so incredibly well-crafted solos and extremely talented stuff. And he has a jazz trio on the side that he does. It blows my mind how good the guy is. And there's tons of others, but I'll just pick one for tonight.
Pick 2 for tonight, technically, but
yeah,
I do remember
one
the air
started and one that kept me going, right?
Yes. Actually, I would say I always used to do the air guitar thing too with Eddie Van Halen, because we used to have those little cassette tapes way back in the day. You just put them in your stereo, do one side, flip it over to the next side. You just didn't want to stop. I'll tell you that much. Those were fun days. All right, and Tim?
So, I grew up listening to more just punk rock. So, Matt Freeman from Rancid, because he plays all kinds of crazy stuff under everything. And so, and then, we'll do the easy one of Steve Harris from Maiden and Lemmy. But, when we were playing in, Matt and I were in more of a punk band and then kind of a hardcore one. So I, was doing more kind of like bass runs and things like that, just a little bit more, a little bit more zazz on the bass lines. But for this band, what I kind of like doing is just holding stuff out more. So, just playing the heavy notes and just kind of we said earlier, letting them breathe. But just at least in starting out in terms of bass players that do more than your traditional following the guitar, which is basically what I do now, but louder.
Do you ever get into like the bass players Lemmy and then Claypool and all those guys?
I mean, I'll at least admit Les Claypool is a hell of a bassist, but it's less what I'm interested in. And again, when I started playing an instrument, it was guitar. So most of the learning to play guitar was just printing out again, still for like Rancid and the Ramones and Nirvana and stuff like that, learning to play those songs. But by the time I'd switched to bass, it was just kind of like, well, I'll play the songs that this band had written, and the guy I replaced on bass, Ben, I mean, he was a hell of a bass player, so it was kind of keeping up with some of the runs, and he'd sprinkle like octave notes in there kind of here and there. So I guess really that was actually a big influence of just kind of learning those songs and kind of some of the stuff that he did and continuing on with it.
Do you do more of the finger picking, or do you prefer using a pick?
So for the punk bands, I was using a pick, but now I switched to just playing with my fingers.
Good choices, I would say.
Yeah.
I have done a little bit of bass too, and I've pretty much done more with like using fingers more, so find it more enjoyable.
And I think it's probably being left-handed, but I'm faster playing with the pick. So with the punk band, playing with the pick kind of had the cleaner runs. But then, playing in the hardcore band or the doom metal bands, it was, switching over to doing fingers, since I wasn't doing quite as complex stuff. I think I'm able to at least keep up the speed as needed, and both Destroyer Man and Born of Plagues are slow enough that it's and especially with the setup I have now with that aluminum neck, it's just got like tons of sustain, so I can just hit something and it'll keep ringing out. So I kind of just like that kind of feeling out of it.
All right. And Austin, who would you consider has been your influence in terms of guitar playing and also vocal wise?
Guitar playing, Tony Iommi. I mean, hands down. I started playing guitar when I was 8, like I said, because I wanted to be Bruce Springsteen. But by the time I was 10, I discovered. You know what? It had nothing to do with being from Jersey. My parents aren't from Jersey. I didn't even know he was from Jersey. It was just the 80s, man. But yeah, when I was 10 years old, I discovered Metallica, Alice Cooper, and Black Sabbath kind of all at the same time. And the first Sabbath album I had was Dehumanizer. It was the first album after like Mob Rules that Iommi, Butler, Dio, and Appice were back together, and it's just like so evil all the way through. It's some of Iommi's best riffing ever, and I always liked the Black Sabbath guitar solos, and like I listened to a lot of Corrosion Conformity in my teen years. Pepper Keenan and Woody Weatherman. They weren't flashy guitar players. I'm slow. I could never like do the Marty Friedman and all the fast soloing, but I liked those kind of like more melodic storybook solos, I called them. So that was always kind of my thing. And then joining this band, Tim hates stoner rock, so I'm trying to listen to some different kind of stuff. I've been listening to a lot of My Dying Bride. This week, October Tide has been my big thing. Forget the guitar player's name, but he's the guy from Catatonia, and once Catatonia started being all like soft and mellow, October Tide just got really ripping. And also I just kind of try to play like Mike now, because he has a style that is entirely different from mine. So if I try to write a riff that's like, oh, this is a riff I would write, it just doesn't fit the band. So I got to like put myself in the Nauer headspace and try to do like the Mike sort of half step dissonant things and use his favorite chords and stuff, and I'm still getting the hang of it though. 5 years on.
I guess that's probably also why I play boring bass lines too, is because it's like I'm not going to be able to figure out what intervals Mike's using and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, I kind of gotten into over the years, just like I want to keep it very simple, but add an element of like whether it's dissonance or something going on, or like Austin and I do a lot of like dual harmony sort of parts in this band. And it's very like, it gives it this mood almost, and then the part changes and it gets more aggressive, and then it slows down to this other weird mood. If you listen to our songs, we're definitely not like the same 3 chords every song, like some of these doom bands are. We definitely have brought our other influences into the writing. And even though Austin says his riffs, you try to write a little bit more like I do, but I think you're still writing stuff that I wouldn't write that sound good for this band. You know what I mean? Like when you try to write like I might write, if I tried to write like you might write, it would be a different kind of stoner doom than you would play. You know what I mean? So, but it's cool though, because we're all open to trying different stuff. Matter of fact, speaking of writing songs, Matt comes up with stuff as a drummer, and he'll just sort of hum it out to us. And I've been playing with him in this band and 2 other bands before this, so for 15 to 18 years now, maybe straight, that I've been playing with him. Yeah. So when he hums something, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. Within a couple of tries, I like Matt will go, yep, that's exactly what was in my head. And there's been some riffs that are on the recording that Matt completely came up with in his head, that we turned it into a riff. He's like, I got this. It's in my brain. I got to get it out. And, we listen, absorb, and try it out. And then he'll get behind the drums and just start to add a beat to it. And then he'll be like, yeah, that's it. Except for that one note. Just make that one note lower. That's it. And then we just come up with the rest of the song from that. So we're all kind of chipping into writing different things, which is cool. It's fun,
I bring zero riffs to the table.
Tim's more like our musical director.
Yeah, I just tell him to play it slower and with fewer notes, and just let it ring out longer.
Make it as busy. Yeah, it's hard because Matt and I playing punk and hardcore and thrash metal. There's so many more notes, especially in the thrash metal stuff, and that's what my core was. Like once I really started to learn guitar, I went in past Metallica into Slayer world and all that stuff, and super fast technical playing. So for me to write a slow song now, it's been challenging. It's taken me years to come up with stuff. There's so many things I've come up with that I listen to the next day and I go, ooh, no, that doesn't work. So it'll probably be like 1 out of 50 riffs that I write that I'm just like happy with, that I'll bring to the table,
So you'll pitch in with the lyrics too? Is that how it goes? Like maybe you'll write, maybe Mike, you'll write the lyric or something like that, I guess. Or how's it work?
Austin,
lyrics are mostly me, yeah.
I mean, it's not that he's like protective or anything. I think if I was like, here, Austin, I wrote you a song and handed him some like crayon scribbled paper, he'd put it on the band fridge. But
well, I mean, he is an English teacher too, so I mean, he's probably going to critique you afterwards, give you an F.
I have an English minor and majored in philosophy, so I could get up there. I look at my books. Let's get Danzig up in here. I've got a book on witchcraft.
Next thing you know, he's going to be drawing pentagrams in his basement right there and sacrificing goats and something. But I guess Austin, go ahead too.
One of our newest songs has a part that Matt wrote the lyrics to. It's kind of funny. We were working on this song and I was listening to it and I was thinking about a buddy of mine, the other Austin Lund, plays in a black metal band called Panopticon. But when we were living and hanging out together in Louisville, Kentucky, he had sort of a crust punk band called Plain Words. And I was just like, I've never listened to crust punk or D-beat stuff, except for, when he would put it on around the house and hanging out with him. But I was like, you know what, like, let's throw a D-beat part in this song. And we did. And then I was working on the lyrics, and in my lyric notebook, I had this piece of paper that Matt had given me like probably a year and a half ago with just 4 lines that he had written at work one day, just coming to practice, and was like, here, man, I wrote this, and it fit perfectly in that part and it suited the song. So yeah, like I am open to it, but it's not often that they approach me with anything. So mostly it's my burden to figure out what the hell I'm saying.
It's at least a nice little practice before he grades everybody else's English papers. So, but I guess I think you mentioned it earlier, I guess. So what inspires your lyrics? So yeah, like I said, I started out trying to just like use literature and stuff and just be kind of, dark. When I was younger, it was always writing about my own life and my relationships and things I was pissed about. And I was in this band in New York, and it was just all about like that being in your 20s and working a shitty job and realizing like, oh God, this is what life is like. So like, yeah, we got a little bit. Yeah. I was never an emo kid. Strike that. But yeah, so we've got songs based on like Dracula and Frankenstein and things like that. But then I've got on the record that we're writing right now, there's a song about the shit that's going on in Gaza and Palestine right now, and there's a song about just like some family issues, frustrations with certain members of my family, and just all kinds of things, just sort of whatever I'm mad about. We've got there's a song on the first album that was inspired by all of the sort of protests and things in the summer of 2020, all of the
post George Floyd, kind of the Black Lives Matter protests and things that were going on around then. So it's all over the place. It's just sort of whatever feels like I could scream about it for 8.5 minutes.
Or at least do a nice little couple minutes here, then you let Matt, Mike, and Tim take over afterwards. Let them shine, that sort of thing too.
Yeah, no songs about smoking weed.
No.
No, I can picture you guys doing Sweet Leaf, maybe if you wanted to, since you did mention about Black Sabbath being an influence. I guess who would do the coffee at the beginning?
We're all grown-ups with respectable jobs. Although I think Matt's probably the only one who gets tested these days. I've got a CDL, so I guess I get tested too every couple years.
We can't
You
fail that
think
drug
they
screen
test
test.
teachers, but they don't.
Yeah, they don't care.
I mean, you gotta make do these days. Teachers are in demand.
Being able to afford all the testing.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, that's all cool. So I guess what do you guys create the songs first though? And I think Matt, or if anyone else was jumping too, I guess, do you always make the music first and then you put the lyrics on top, or do you do it vice versa?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much, right, Austin? I mean, you've always sort of taken the idea in the song, I think, and then thought about a concept, right? Or did you already add stuff?
Yeah, it's usually so. Mike writes 95% of the music. So usually he'll come in with riffs and we'll kick them around. That might have been a little generous because Matt comes up with his riffs too.
I'd say 80, 85.
But most of it at least has the its genesis with Mike, and he doesn't usually come in and go, okay, like here's the song, this is the verse, this is a chorus, we're gonna play this many times. Like we hammer all that stuff out together, but he'll come in with kind of 2 or 3 parts that are in the same key that kind of go together, and we'll figure out what goes where as a band, and sometimes that takes weeks and weeks, and sometimes it falls together in one practice. And most of the time, once we've got sort of most of it put together, we've got a good outline of a song, something that we can record, I'll take it home and listen to it and kind of figure out what I want to do lyrically. Sometimes in practice, I'll just like scream nonsense to try and find like rhythmically where the vocals fit and what feels good, and then work within that. But yeah, I can't think of any time that I've had the lyrics before the song, except for something I'm working on right now that the guys haven't heard yet.
It's a secret. So.
Yeah. Big
All right,
things
can't wait
coming.
to see it. Yeah, big things are coming.
About puppies and flowers.
It is. How'd you know? You haven't heard it yet.
Oh, he snuck in, or he did something, man. I don't know. I think he's secretly a robber. He could probably do like an Ocean's 11 sort of crazy stuff right there, just try to steal in that.
Steal his notebook.
The blueprints. He took the blueprints. There we go. Okay. That's all cool. Yeah, I do agree. I think having the music down first, and I've actually mentioned this in my other interviews, where I think it's always best to have the music down first and then just throw the lyrics over top. So this way okay, we can eliminate this word and then just make it all fit here and there. So that's kind of how it was with me, at least. So I see how it works. I guess in terms of challenges,
That's not how
too.
the Beatles did it, though.
Oh, sorry. Is that how the Beatles did it, too?
Nah, the Beatles, John Lennon would write his words and then write his music to fit his words. That's
Well,
why.
look where that got him, Austin.
That's why later on they started writing in odd time signatures, because Yoko, the genius of the band, obviously, was like, hey, you're only singing on, 6 out of those 8 beats. Why don't you just cut the other 2 out? And John was like, oh, yeah, okay.
He was a little too high to
It's
even know what
history.
was going on. But actually, I did not know that, too. But I guess it makes sense at the same time. I wonder if he did it the same way with Imagine. Who knows? But may he rest in peace, too. I actually do remember Ringo Starr was Mr. Conductor on Thomas the Tank Engine when I used to watch that way back in the day.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
that was kind of my first Ringo Starr experience, I guess.
I was the same way, too. I had no
stuff.
idea. I was like, oh, my God, this guy was a
man.
Beatle. Afterwards, when
My
he realized
first
it
Ringo
later in life.
Starr was Alice in Wonderland when he played was he the Mock Turtle?
Oh yeah.
Anybody else see that one with Telly Savalas as the Cheshire Cat?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was a trip.
Yeah, literally. What do you think about it, too? Actually, I didn't know that, actually. So that's interesting. I didn't watch it too much. I may have watched it maybe a couple times, but that was like God knows how many years ago. So
it's a made-for-TV one from the early 80s, probably. It's pretty incredible. Sammy Davis Jr. is the caterpillar. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty good ensemble cast when you think about it. So, yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was actually trying to jump into the next question here in terms of challenges you face. So I guess, Matt, what challenges do you face being a musician?
Challenges that I face being a musician?
In terms of like time constraints, like also you also got to love the around too.
We're all old and got kids and jobs and time constraints. We can only get together every now and then. There's no we'll never be able to do an extensive tour, I don't see us ever like taking 3 months and doing an entire US tour or going to Japan for a month or anything like that. It is what it is. We do it for fun, and if somebody likes it, then that makes it even better.
Yeah, and there's so many avenues now to put your music out there, and not just what you've recorded, but we played a show up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania last weekend, or 2 weekends ago. Was it last weekend? Well, not this weekend.
Just last weekend, yeah.
And I mean, it's great because we can record it, put it on our YouTube channel, which Tim did, and a lot more people get to see it, especially if our friends down here in Baltimore didn't get to go all the way up there. So we enjoy doing as many local places will have us, and then of course we've been branching out to Pennsylvania. We've got a show coming up in Virginia on the 18th of this month, February, and we're playing a local spot in Baltimore in March 11th, right? Yeah, the 11th.
Yeah.
Yep.
How can you forget, Mike?
Yeah. We don't have anything in April yet, right? We better get some recording or planning for recording time down. We need a month for that.
Yeah, that's going to be April.
Yeah, whenever we don't have a show. But yeah, for a while there, we were kind of, I wouldn't say, we were just getting very sparse shows last year. Of course, COVID did affect that. We weren't really playing, no bands were really playing out anywhere for a while when COVID hit. Very few places. And then slowly they started opening up again and having people have a mask mandate. And, some people didn't like that. And it was like, lots of fights and issues over that stuff, or that maybe they wouldn't let you into a club if you didn't have a vaccination card that you've had at least one COVID vaccine, So there was all kinds of weird stuff going around then. So we weren't really playing a lot then. We focused on the recording that we did DIY. And then once we got that out, we started getting some miscellaneous shows here and there again. And now this year it's like one a month for a while. So, and we're playing a festival this coming summer coming up, Doomfest in Fredericksburg, or
just
Frederick, Maryland.
Yeah,
Frederick.
All right, that's pretty cool. And I guess maybe you can fill us in with this question right here, Mike. I guess how is the music scene these days in Maryland after COVID and everything?
It's actually pretty good. I mean, I'm not, we're all older, so I don't go out to shows unless I'm playing them or it's somebody I really want to see. I used to go out all the time because I was either more in the downtown area where there's shows due to practice or friends that live there. But a lot of friends have moved out of the city and stuff like that. So I'm just not around town to go to a show that, if I just want to check out bands like I used to. And, with everybody getting up early for work and everything, it's hard to stay out late. I think, though, venues in our area have adapted to that a bit in the last few years, or at least maybe since COVID, because shows used to go really late. And I feel like in the last couple of years, 11 o'clock sometimes the show's over, they're planning it a little bit earlier and getting people out earlier. Not for every show, but in general. Do you guys notice that too? It never was like that before. It used to be always 1 or 2 o'clock every show you were going to get out of there, especially if you were playing.
And like, Baltimore shows, since I live in Frederick, which is like an hour from Baltimore, hour something from DC. I mean, I'll still go out to like, bigger shows. And, if a show happens to fall on a night that we're practicing, usually I'll try to swing by after practice. But then, if we're done at like 9:30, half the time the headliner's already going on. So, which is nice because, I've got an hour drive to get home. So, as long as I'm in bed before midnight, that's usually, better, which has been easier these days with shows. When we played in Pennsylvania, I didn't get home till 1, but yeah.
You took some pay time off afterwards. So.
Well, yeah, it was a weekend at least, and definitely later there on the couch with the kids watching something while I fell back asleep.
Yeah, that's all cool. And I guess Tim and Austin, what challenges have you faced being musicians in general?
I mean, I guess for us, it's whether or not we actually will practice any given week.
Yeah, right.
We start on Wednesday and start kicking the can, and it's every single. Well, Matt's pretty gung ho most of the time. He's usually not the one to bail, but it's kids or work or scheduling or something comes up, and then it's like. If one person doesn't make it, then we just kind of start falling like dominoes. It's like, well, I don't want to drive an hour and, see the rest of you guys. And so, getting the timing of practicing, and even like, getting older, like, I've got tennis and golfer's elbows, so my arm is like killing me all the time. I've got a bruised tailbone, so driving an hour sucks. So it's just like, some of that getting old crap. So I'm glad I got a light bass head now instead of that 80-pound Bugera. But that's coming off of
right. Playing Doom, the biggest challenge is hauling your heavy ass gear all over the world.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm making fun of you, Matt.
No, we live backline these days.
Yeah. And Austin?
Oh man. I mean, a lot of what they said is kind of the big stuff these days, like just finding time to practice at home. I'll get an idea for a song and just like I don't ever have a few minutes to sit down and just play guitar at home. And I've been working on that lately. I think as far as like all my life being a musician, the biggest challenge is just kind of like second guessing myself. It's real weird because I don't listen to music to be impressed, and some of my favorite artists and favorite songs are like the simplest, most sort of stripped down and basic kind of stuff. But when I sit down to write, if I'm not impressing myself, I'm like, oh well, what am I doing here? So it's taken me a long time as a guitar player to be able to sit down and like even playing Doom since 2004. To just like hit a chord and let it ring out and go like, yeah, that's cool. I don't need to dress that up. I don't need to do something fancy that's going to blow people's minds. Like it's heavy. So I think just kind of like getting out of my own way has been a challenge.
And I mean, I guess even like playing at home, like playing bass by yourself sounds terrible anyway. So, and I got like a small amp, which, works for like clean stuff, but we're loud and distorted and heavy, so I'm not hauling like my pedals back and forth. So it's just gonna sound way worse if I play at home, which is me rationalizing not practicing, but also I'm not gonna, I guess I could like sit here and try to write stuff, but just the bass unplugged by itself kind of I don't think lends itself to that. I mean, I've got a bunch of like crappy Strats laying around everywhere. I might have an SG in here, but picking something up. Just if you don't have I guess maybe we've gotten spoiled by our full setups and playing with those where it's like, oh, I don't quite have it. Mike's you're running stuff through your computer these days, right? But you've at least got your stack back there.
Yeah, I've been getting into the digital stuff just to try to learn it and see what's available. And I think in the last couple years, probably even just the last 2 to 3 years, the digital stuff is getting so good sounding, like to matching a real tube amp and matching a real cabinet. I don't know. I'm having fun just playing with it and learning it, and it makes me want to do like some side stuff, like solo project stuff, record everything, because I've been getting into the MIDI drums and all that, and I can pick out grooves and edit the drum hits to what I want. And so I've been trying to play with that in the last year or two, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, though. It's a lot of learning, but there's some really neat stuff you can do with it. And it has improved, I think, a little bit with my writing, because most of my writing I would do sitting at home with a guitar and no beat or anything, and just see if I can come up with some riffs that sound cool or catchy. If I get something, record it, right? Now I'll take a beat that's in 4/4 or 6/8 or something, just a simple thing, and play along with it looped. And it helps me to get stuff more in time that I'm coming up with on the spot. You know what I mean? I would write something without a beat, and I take it to Matt, and he'd be like, dude, I don't even know what time signature that is. And I'm like, yeah, no, just tell me where to end it or how to stop it. And sometimes it's really tough because I have it in my head a certain way, even without a beat. So now if I at least just have a click or something to follow, I'll know when the end of that line should be. And I think it's making riffs a little bit easier to come up with, to be able to do that at home and play along with, like, you know, electronic drums essentially that sound like real drums, and plug your guitar into the computer essentially. So
I'll say we at least gave Tim a little time to shine there at the end of one song with a little bass. Can't really call it a solo, but it sounded like it was just a little ending riff.
Yeah, I did wind up buying a bass guitar so that I could actually put some bass lines to some stuff I was writing to see what it would sound like. But yeah, it's fun though to be able to do the ability to do this stuff like in your house quietly while someone's sleeping with headphones. You know, it's pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, because I guess that's the other problem I have too, is like my dog would freak out, and my wife's working from home now, so if it's like 1 o'clock and I'm up here just like fiddling around on bass, you're like, aren't you supposed to be like working? Like, it's just, my code's compiling, don't worry about it.
I'm on break.
Yeah.
So actually, I would have thought the dog would freak out with Matt drumming like a madman over there.
Yeah. Well, Matt's got his little doggies.
Yeah. All right, that's all cool. I guess, so who's in charge of doing the social media and all the promotion and stuff?
The bass player.
Oh, the bass player does it. Yeah. Well, he is IT too, so I guess, did you join the Facebook group Band Together?
Nah.
I would say that's actually where all us indie musicians, and I guess any other groups as well, can join and try to promote the music as well. We all help each other out too. But I guess, tell us a little about the social media, I guess. What do you hope to achieve with it?
Mainly it is interesting kind of how it's changed, because, for the band Matt and I were first in, it was Fighting Chance. We're still making flyers and handing them out, and our singer was calling venues and emailing, and we had our website with a guest book, like that kind of stuff. Then with Destroyer Man, it's like, oh, Facebook's pushing their events, so you want to make a Facebook event and share the event. And now it's more Instagram, where you just put up the flyer and keep mentioning about it, because like the event count's pretty useless anyway. So yeah, it's just mainly having stuff out there. But even then, I'm not doing as much as we probably should. Just try to take pictures of stuff while we're playing. But yeah, and then trying to just get videos for YouTube, that sort of thing. We're not going to do like TikTok or any of that kind of stuff, but I think it's mainly just trying to keep spreading the word of the band, that we've got new stuff coming, and hopefully it kind of reminds people, like reminds promoters, okay, yeah, let's put these guys on a show, because they are still around, and they would fit in with stuff. And it's always just been kind of slowly building in terms of having people listening to the music or liking the social media. And we got our handful of fans who come out to stuff, so it's mainly just keeping word out there.
That's some good work you got going in there. Actually, was it you that I was talking with when we were trying to set this whole thing up before?
Yeah, the majority of it, yeah. And then, because it's not like I'm the only one holding on the password or anything. So every once in a while, Mike would hop in or Matt would hop in, maybe even Austin commented in there. So, it's very schizophrenic sometimes with the social media comments or things like that. But the other thing, I always try to make sure to like everything on my personal account too. So Austin's one of our biggest fans and probably followed closely by me liking all of our own posts.
All right, that sounds good. And it was kind of leading into this question right here, but I guess in terms of all the musicians, regardless of like what sort of social media they're on to, and Matt, you can go first here. What advice would you give to musicians who are perhaps struggling or trying to make it big, quote unquote?
Keep your hopes up and don't be discouraged when shit doesn't go the way you think it should go. It doesn't happen overnight. I've been in numerous bands. There's one past one that's still going that I stopped playing for in 2000, just before I moved from Virginia to Maryland. Might have even been 99, but they're still going strong and we're still friends, and I wish them all the luck because they're doing a bang up job. I'm not gonna drop names because that's not my style, but they're doing good. I left the band on my own accord pretty much, and they kept going and they're doing it, and that's great for them. And I've just, the biggest thing I can say is, regardless if you make it big or not, have fun doing it, because when it becomes a chore, then it becomes a job, and you don't want another job.
Barry got to work 2 jobs already, so no sense in making a mountain out of a molehill, to say the least, throwing a little analogy.
Right.
Okay. And Mike?
Yeah, no, I think we all, in this band, I guess I can maybe speak for everybody. I don't know if we ever had like the dream of making it big, because we all liked styles of metal that were so underground, and like it was cool to be like not popular and like, and pop and stuff. It was like you had enough friends in the metal scene, that knew who you were, and you were happy with that. It was like 20 of my friends are here at this show, and there's a random, house of, a couple other people that we don't know. That's like, I'm super happy with those kinds of shows, because I'd rather entertain friends and people and other bands that are in the scene and all that, and just do it for fun. I mean, I don't know if any of us have really had an agenda. So there are people out there, though, the younger crowds, that I do enjoy watching. There's some really talented guitar players you can see now. I'm speaking my age, but TikToks and Instagram and all that, there's so many cool musicians that are young and up and coming, and it's all about views. It's all about, today, popularity and how much content you put out and how many views, and growing your social media presence. That's how you become really big, I think, today, if you want to do it yourself, and you don't have connections. It's like, if you're gonna try to become an awesome popular musician, you gotta just work your hardest at it today, but we have platforms available for people to do that now, to get views, to get to post videos, to post quick things and grow like that. So, but I don't know if any of us in this band have ever really like wanted to be like that, like we're happy being underground, sort of,
All right, and Tim?
Yeah, I mean, Mike's definitely, hit the nail on the head with that. None of us were trying to make it big. So, in terms of like advice to somebody trying to make it big, it's almost like don't. But but also, like, you kind of see some bands that do take themselves too seriously, that are like real into their persona. When I see a band of kids younger than us dressing in like vintage clothes, it's just like, all right, guys, come on. And even like bands on TikTok and that are trying to be savvy with social media, it's just not coming across as genuine. It's more one of those like, oh, we need to do this to get views so we can, it's always like that trying to get the next step, and it's not like just being there doing the thing that you're doing. So that's that. If you're gonna wear a costume, make it bloody.
Can we just end the interview there? That's it. That's all we have.
That's all we have.
We're gonna wear a costume, make it bloody. We're born of plagues. Yeah,
I think, see what you got.
Yeah, between Mike and Tim, they really kind of covered it. I was gonna say, like, if you're going into music in 2024 with the goal of making it big, don't. Like, there are no rock stars anymore. If you look at the bands that are like rock stars now, they're the same ones. It's still Metallica. It's still the bands that hit it big when we were younger and that have been big for 20 years. Aside from like Taylor Swift, like there are no new artists that are huge. There are artists that are doing well, and there's your pop and your hip hop things that are doing well, but it's not the same kind of, they're not reaching the stature that you saw musicians hitting in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And that's just not really a thing anymore. But the flip side of that is that there's so much more available to the independent musician. There's so many more resources that you can, by yourself cheaply at home, crank out a decent sounding album. I mean, you were giving props to our album. I recorded that on like a 12-year-old version of Pro Tools with 6 microphones in our crummy practice space and my like half-finished basement. Like, there was no good soundproofing. There were no $1,000 microphones. It wasn't the latest cutting-edge software. And there's so much more now. And like, part of the reason that I am not sure I want to try to DIY our next record is because the technology has gotten so far ahead of me, because I was learning this stuff and working in studios in 2004. And in 20 years, it's been leaps and bounds. And I feel like a dinosaur already. And I want somebody who actually knows what they're doing behind the controls. But for the independent musician, I mean, you can produce your own stuff, and you can put it out on Bandcamp or SoundCloud or whatever, and you can get it onto Spotify and iTunes and whatever else people are listening to. Like, I don't even know. I still use Pandora. I don't know anyone else who does. But so my words of hope are just like, if you are making music because you love making music and you believe in the art, it's the best time in history to be able to do it well and get it out to people. If you're making music because you think you're going to be snorting coke off hookers' backsides and whatever with your like 6-page rider at the venue every night, like, then you're bullshitting yourself and you need to go home.
I'll say, are you as flexible as David Lee Roth?
No.
But I tried to do splits up in the air and everything.
He's stronger.
All stronger and everything too. So Mr. Macho Man. So that's all good. Actually, you jumped a little bit ahead because that was actually one of the last questions we covered there too. But let's go ahead and jump to the fun questions a little bit here, and then we'll cover that last one, okay?
Let's do it.
So let's start with the first one right here, I guess. Matt, you can go first. What is your favorite food?
Beer.
Vienna sausages.
I mean, that's a liquid there, buddy. I mean, unless you mush it all down and just drink the juice. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, beer can definitely be a food. It's its own food group, and it's the best one. But as far as actual food goes, I don't know. I like a good burger.
He's a hamburger man. I like it. All right. And Mike?
I'll just go with pizza. I'm a foodie guy, but if you give me a really, really well-made pizza, I just gotta have it.
Are you a carnivore, or do you like putting pineapple on yours?
Oh, I'll put pineapple, feta. One of my favorites was pineapple and feta. I used to get that all the time. I love just about anything. Not really anchovies, but anything else is good.
I think it's a sign that then you're definitely very old, to be honest, if you're putting anchovies on a pizza.
Yeah.
So, all right, and Tim?
I'm definitely team pineapple and feta. There's a place up here where you can buy like a little take and make pizza kit. They stopped selling feta, but they still do pineapple. And yeah, there's another pizza place up the street. So we get pizza for the kids, and I only allowed to order half pineapple because then they want cheese. Yeah, and
Kids
then
ruin everything.
they do. Yeah, they just they'll learn to love it. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I'll pretty much, yeah, I guess pizza and sweets, dessert, that kind of stuff.
All right, and Austin?
Oh man, I mean, I'm a big eater, but my wife is like a full-blooded New Jersey Italian, and her meatballs and gravy changed my life. That's it, hands down.
I thought you were going to say jerky. Lemon tuna jerky.
Well, now you know what to bring to practice this week, Austin.
I think a way to use that in order to bribe them in order to come to practice or something.
Yeah, to guarantee.
I tried. We were planning meals this week, and I sent her the list, and it was meatballs every day. And you know how many days we're having meatballs this week?
One.
None.
No, I was going to say one. I mean, at least one day.
Well, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Austin.
Yep.
Right.
Or you could have given her a nice little reward afterwards. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It was kind of a little throwback to Duck Dynasty, too, where like Phil would say, like, you make a little banana pudding, I'll give you a little rough sex afterwards, or something like that.
So. Throw the meatballs around.
Dynasty, mate.
Yep. Little meatballs and gravy.
Austin's going to start changing the camouflage.
Yeah. You can get away with it, too. He's got the beard and everything, too. Okay. So for next, the fun questions right here, I guess. Matt, what would you consider as your favorite movie?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. My favorite movie, like, of all time or a specific genre or what?
You do strike me like you would be a horror fanatic, to be honest. But I guess if you could name one of all time, otherwise you could do a top three if you want.
I will do of all time, and I am going to, since I've been put on the spot like this, I'm going to go with the original Exorcist.
I remember my mom told me that story. That was the first horror movie that she saw as a young kid, too. She was like, never again. So, good choice. Okay. And Mike?
Same thing.
Exorcist.
I love The Exorcist, man. That first one fucking just got me so, like, it still to this day gives me the creeps, even though I know how cheesy it was actually put together behind the scenes now. But no, I like stuff like that, you know. Also, I don't know. I like just about anything. I like more movies, sci-fi stuff, whatever, you know. Whatever is good. I've watched so many things lately. I feel like nothing's good anymore. Like, just all the good movies were made. They can't do it anymore.
Well, the ones that are good are still from the directors who are still at least good, like the Scorsese and Tarantino.
Yeah, they're still cranking stuff out. I don't know if it's as good as it used to be, but
I think Tarantino holds his own.
That last Scorsese movie, To Kill a Flower Moon, or Killers of the Flower Moon, was a little bit long, but man, that was good as shit. Me and the old lady went to the theater to see it.
I think he did The Irishman too, right? And that was also another long one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was at least Netflix.
Yeah. That's why I watch it on Netflix now, so we can at least pause it whenever. Okay. And Tim?
So we'll jump back to Scorsese, I guess, and it's either going to be Taxi Driver or Freddy Got Fingered. But I also like David Lynch movies. Freddy Got Fingered is a comedic masterpiece. So like just David Lynch movies, the Alien movies. I went on this kick where I watched every Nicolas Cage movie. And I mean that man's a genius as well anyway, but so I've kind of been broken since then of just like I can't really watch anything after that. I mean there's still even the 5 that he made this year that I haven't watched yet because it's like I've seen everything that needs to be seen at this point.
I don't know. I feel like Nicolas Cage kind of gets a bad rap these days. I don't know from who, but I think it's always critics or maybe his movies are cheesy.
We watched my wife and I watched Pig because that was one of his serious roles, and I mean like the man can crank out an awesome performance, but then it'll also just like completely go off the wall and have fun. So and then he just had his paying off his taxes adventures of just making anything that came his way.
I forget what movie it was, but I think there was one he just had like a mental breakdown, just like start screaming for like no reason at all.
That's Vampire's Kiss is like that. Yeah, Mandy. Was it Willy's Wonderland where he doesn't even speak the whole movie? It's great.
Something like that. I haven't paid attention much, but hey, it's good to see you still out there and kicking some ass too. So, and Austin?
I think in terms of like cinematic appreciation, Sergio Leone's the Man with No Name trilogy. I had a sort of moment of realization a couple of years ago where it just sort of struck me that in any artistic medium, like the height of art, the thing that I look for, the more closely it resembles a Sergio Leone Western, the more I like it. The contrast between the broad panoramas and then the extreme close-ups on the facial expressions, and the fact that like every actor is ugly, even the good-looking actors are ugly, and everything's dirty, and it just like that grittiness that it's not the same kind of grittiness that you see now when they're doing like Batman's gritty now, and I love Batman. There's just something really sort of human about it. It speaks to me on a really sort of primal, deep level. But if I'm just gonna like put on,
and that was a man who knew how to let scenes go long too. He would just like film a dog crossing the street for a minute.
Yeah. So like, and you think about like watch those movies and think about Doom music. Like it makes sense. I read somewhere or heard somewhere that he kind of started shooting that way out of necessity because the types of cameras that he had or the types of lenses could only focus really far away or really close up. He couldn't do medium shots. So he just built his movies around it, and it resulted in this incredible style. But if I'm going to put on a movie at home just like for entertainment, it's like 9 times out of 10 going to be Conan the Barbarian or Lord of the Rings.
Oh, those are good choices. Actually, which Conan the Barbarian one? I guess, did they do a recent one? It was like a remake, or is this like one of the older ones?
I love them all. I mean, I go back to the original with Schwarzenegger more than anything. I did like the one with Jason Momoa. I thought it was even a little more true to the character as written by the author. Well, actually, a lot more true because the John Milius, Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan has very little to do with the actual written character, but it's still a great movie. Conan the Destroyer can be a little hard to watch, but it's that sidekick, the comedic relief is just
not a good thing. So sadly, actually, I was waiting for the whole thing when he said you love Batman. I was like, I'm Batman. So I was waiting for that. So it's all good. All right, and for the next one,
I got me a whole Batman tattoo over here.
Oh, look at that! I guess which year is that guy representing?
That was from a Jim Lee run, and I had gotten this one on the inside, and then my tattoo artist put something on social media with the Jim Lee picture being like, hey, somebody let me tattoo this on him. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go. So my one little thing turned into a big thing.
I guess, which actor do you think did Batman the greatest? And also includes voice acting too. Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you would have liked Kevin Conroy.
Well, yeah, Kevin Conroy is incredible, but Michael Keaton laid the groundwork for Kevin Conroy, doing the sort of like the two different voices, and he was such a bad fit for the role, but he sold it. Like no one understood why Michael Keaton got cast as Batman. I'm not sure Michael Keaton even understood it, but he went for it, and even with the goofy like I can't move my neck kind of thing, like he sold it. I think he played the role better than anyone else has on screen. But I love them all.
Yeah, that's fair too. And I guess, do you love Mark Hamill as the Joker?
Yeah. But Nicholson also, I mean, like, how can you not love Jack Nicholson? I feel like he was born for that role.
I think it's because without the makeup on, he kind of looks creepy without the makeup on. That's the thing. So, right. And I guess for the next one right here, in terms of drinks too, Matt, what would you consider as your favorite alcoholic drink and non-alcoholic drink?
I feel like we covered this.
I think you talked about the beer one first. All beers.
Again, I'm gonna have to go with beer. My second choice would be a nice Irish whiskey or Scotch, or even bourbon. So beer and whiskey, basically.
It's all the above. That's all
and
that matters.
When I'm not drinking those, it's either hot black coffee or unsweetened iced tea.
All right, and Mike.
Yeah, I'll say coffee. I can't live without coffee. But alcoholic, I don't really drink like I used to, but I do enjoy a nice like Kentucky bourbon every now and then, like something that's really good, not the rail stuff, but something like that. That's I don't know. I have expensive tastes. I've had some pretty expensive whiskeys in my day, so maybe I'm too spoiled. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, and Tim.
I don't drink, but I'm team coffee and Moxie, which is a soda from up north that everybody hates.
All right, and Austin.
Yeah, coffee all the time.
You'd think we'd be playing faster.
Yeah, we would say we'd be playing thrash metal before you know it, right here, man.
I can't overdo the caffeine. A lot of times I do half caff. I'm kind of a wimp, but I love coffee. I sometimes wish that it wasn't caffeinated so I could drink more of it. And alcoholic, I mean, I like a good dark beer. I mean, too many to name. I think my all-time like favorite beer, the one that I have to get if I see it on a beer list somewhere, is out of Louisiana, I guess out of New Orleans. I'm not sure, maybe outside of New Orleans. The Abita Turbo Dog. It's just a exquisite brown ale. Great stuff. But then also there's this other guy named Austin Lund who has a brewery up in Minnesota called Hammerheart, and he makes incredible beers as well. Lots of like really unique flavors. He's like hand smokes the ingredients like over an actual campfire to make just like incredible, delicious beer. Guy's an absolute savant.
Was that you gotta try to claim him as your brother or something, twin brother or something?
I call him my cosmic twin.
Is this the same Austin Lund, or is there a third?
No, this is the same. There is a third one, but this is the same one. The other one lives in Nebraska and plays baseball or something. I don't know. I don't claim him.
It's almost like everyone's a doppelganger now. So, yeah, that's all cool. And for the last of the fun questions right here, I guess, Matt, what would you consider has been your favorite song of all time, regardless of how old it is?
My favorite song of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, that's tough, but I'm gonna have to say "Just Can't Hate Enough" by Sheer Terror.
All right, and Mike.
Oh man, I'm probably just gonna say "Raining Blood" Slayer. I don't know. I think I listened to that song like 10,000 times on cassette and record back in the day. So I'll just say that. There's too many to choose though.
It gave him a nice little doom, gloom, and feel in the beginning, and then also the little chaos of the flood at the end. So I can see what you mean. All right, and Tim?
I guess Raining Blood is a good option, but because even you're playing Grand Theft Auto, that comes on, you just like start running people over.
Or he's chasing hippies away.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll steal something Austin would have said. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll just go Maxwell Murder by Rancid because it's just got like that cool bass solo, and it's just fast. It's catchy. It's just kind of a fun song.
All right, and Austin?
I love this because 2 out of 3 songs so far I don't even know. So one of my Kentucky friends had a thing up on Facebook the other day asking what people's favorite metal songs were. And I thought a lot about that, and I landed on now I'm going to forget what it's called. Cosmic Funeral by Cathedral.
It's a good one.
It starts off just so like gothic doomy with organ and stuff, and these just grinding slow riffs, and then it gets kind of like picked up and heavy, and then it's got a real like swung out kind of stonery part. It goes all over the place, and it's like everything I ever loved about metal in one song, start to finish. But for favorite song of all time, I have to go to my go-to answer is Thunder Road by Bruce Springsteen. It's just like all my life, that song has been there. Like I sang it to my kids when they were babies, and I was trying to get them to go to sleep. It's just kind of like that's all time that one tops it.
I was going to say, should I play the harmonica while trying to sing it too?
I can't play the harmonica to save my life. I tried. I'm just not that talented.
All right, I thought it was worth a try. So, all right, all good choices nonetheless too. So Mike, Matt, Mike, Tim, and Austin, we're kind of reaching the end of my podcast right here. We're down to one more question. Before we jump into it, did any of you guys have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
Man, I was wondering where you're located at.
I'm actually up in Pittsburgh, PA. Steel City.
Okay. So. You refer to us as up north, but you don't sound very southern. How's the weather in Pittsburgh?
It's been on and off. It's kind of, I don't know if you follow the whole Punxsutawney Phil and that whole Groundhog's Day thing they do up here. And you didn't see his shadow, so apparently spring is right around the corner, which is probably a good thanks to global warming if we want to say that's the main cause of it. But nonetheless, it's been on and off. It's not been too bad.
He's only right. They said he's only right 40% of the time. I heard that yesterday on the news. So that means it's probably going to be a long winter.
I mean, probably.
If you look at it
doesn't really matter.
Statistically.
I used to be a farmer, so I don't trust groundhogs anyway.
Yeah, they're probably jacking up your crops and everything there too.
Yeah, we always used to chase them down and put the boots to them.
Go whack upside the head and bludgeon his head on the side of the road. So, yeah. But yeah, it would be nice for you guys to go up to Pittsburgh one of these days too, and then we can actually meet backstage and just try to catch up and everything too.
So, yeah.
We'd be down.
I've only
like 6 hours, so that's not too bad.
We get a show out there. If we get a show out there, let's all wear Ravens jerseys.
I don't have any Ravens jerseys.
I think they'll chase you out of town with the pitchforks and the torches and everything next before you know it.
No, we're the entertainment. We're the band that you guys hired.
I'll wear the Ravens camo.
There you go.
All right, I'll hold you all to it. So I'll leave it up to you. I'm just gonna say, don't expect me to bail you out if they start chasing you. Okay. Did you guys have anything else, or is it okay if we jump to the last question?
I guess how did you find us?
It was quite by accident, really. And I thought at first it was Band Together because that's normally where I go to like find other people to see if they want to come on the podcast and everything. I think it was just on Facebook where I think it was one of the suggestions after I clicked like I'll follow this band right here. I think it brought it up as a suggestion saying like, hey, if you follow this guy, you can follow this group right here. And think like there's Born of Plagues. I'm like, that's so metal. Let's just go do it. So
Okay. Yeah, because that came like right after we played the show, so I was like, oh, maybe he was at the show or had seen that, or yeah.
Well, in that case, it was just a major coincidence when you think about it. But no, it was just spur of the moment right there. I'm thinking like, you know what? I got some open slots right here, and it's 50-50, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Most of the time, it tends to be
thanks
like
for having
just
us.
one person.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, man.
No worries. I would say most of the time it tends to be one person who tends to represent the band, but it's always good to get the whole band on and to do like these sorts of interviews too.
Yeah, they don't trust me doing an interview solo yet. It's bad enough on the social media.
Nah, we trust you.
I don't know. I think Austin and Mike tend to hold the conversation pretty long too. So
You know, we're just the talkers, I guess.
Yeah, shut up, Mike.
Shut up. Shut up.
Shut up. That sort of thing too. So, all right, that's all good. I guess. Anything else? I just want to make sure before we jump into it.
Let's do it.
For the last question right here, given what COVID has done, obviously you guys have been impacted in some sort of way too, and I'm sorry for if you guys lost any family or friends along the way during COVID. But what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians and people out there as we try to move forward in a post-COVID world? And Matt, you can go first, and then we'll go the usual order because I think Austin, you spoiled it earlier.
Sorry, I got ahead of myself. I read the questions beforehand.
Well, he is the teacher too, so he at least knows what to expect. So
I did my homework.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say, keep doing what you're doing. You know, keep at it. Don't let shit get you down. Don't let the bastards beat you. Just keep doing what you're gonna do. Be you. Be the best you can be.
All right, and Mike.
I don't know. I just say stick with it. You know, whatever you're doing musically, you gotta just keep going. And if you want to be good at it, you know, time. It's all about how much time you can invest. I feel like anybody has the ability to, you know, learn like an instrument or learn how to compose or whatever, is if they could just put the time in to learn it. So just not giving up. That's pretty much it.
All right, and Tim.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, without seeing myself as somebody giving advice, but you know, keep doing what you're doing, make sure it fulfills you, and, you know, be grateful for what you do have.
All right, and Austin.
My message of hope is I hope everybody checks out Born of Plagues and buys our album. I don't know, man. I've been struggling with hope these days. You know, things are tough all over, but I think
All right, Pony Boy.
you know, we I just going for more of a Cheech and Chong thing. There's my message. Stay gold. Sadly, you blew my train of thought. I was going to go somewhere good with that, but I don't know. I think we live in unprecedented times, and that can be hard because you don't know what to expect and you don't know what's coming. But I think that there is some hopefulness in that. The fact that we don't know what's next. We don't know what's going to happen, and the world is changing all the time. And you know, anything could happen. It's going to be a ride.
Absolutely. And spoke like a bunch of true prodigies, as the Tarantino film would say. So, right. So Matt, Mike, Tim, and Austin, we reached in my pockets right here, and boy, we almost talked for almost 2 hours. Actually, we're still
man,
a little bit short.
Past my bedtime.
Yeah,
we gotta get to bed.
I got about 20 more minutes, so we're all good there. But did you guys have any shout-outs, any final words you want to say before we close?
Austin, do the plug.
Shout out to you for having us.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for reaching out and having us.
Yeah,
Put it up with our Skype resistance.
We're on Bandcamp. If anybody wants to check us out, look us up on Bandcamp. We're going to be releasing something probably this year. Hopefully we get it done before the summer, but we'll see. Might take a little longer than that. Keep an eye there. Most of our stuff's there, and we're also on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
All right, thanks, Mike. I was going to ask that question next there too, just for the audience, but thank you. All right. So everyone, my guest today was the heavy metal band Born of Plagues. We got Matt on drums, Mike the guitar player and the soloist, Tim the lead bassist, and Austin the rhythm guitarist and the vocalist too. So these guys are kicking some major ass right there. Make sure you go check them out too. And I guess you guys got any new music coming out, or I guess what are shows you're going to be playing at sometime this year? I think you mentioned the one in April, right?
Yeah, so we'll be in Manassas, Virginia, at the Salisbury, right?
Salisbury
on the
Theater,
18th of February. March 11th, we're at the Auto Bar in Baltimore for Metal Monday. And then in Frederick, Maryland, the Maryland Doom Fest in June. I don't remember the exact date, but we play on Thursday night of that whole weekend fest. So hopefully we'll see some folks there. And we are working on that second album. Should be out hopefully by the fall. Hopefully.
We'll keep moving the goalpost as needed.
Optimistically.
I think now we're going to say pessimistically now with what Tim just mentioned there too. So we'll see what happens, but we'll leave it up to you guys. Can't wait to hear the new material as well. Even if it's DIY or studio, we'll see what happens too. So
yeah, a couple of those new ones are on YouTube, so you can see what we're up to, what we've been brewing, and I gotta say, I think it kicks ass. I'm really excited about it.
I'll hold you to it, mate. Otherwise, you'll be hearing some pretty profane response from me on Messenger. So Tim will be the first line of defense. All right. All right. So you all stay safe. Rock on.
Thanks,
and good luck in
Brian.
your shows this year.
Yeah, man.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Stay tuned,
Thanks,
y'all.
Brian. Take it easy.
All right.